So, what I wanted to talk about this week is the fact that I think nowadays celebrities, are fucking everywhere, right? It's not like in the past where you'd have like Marilyn Monroe and you'd have these like figures that everyone knew, but they felt so kind of far out of your reach and so like they didn't feel like real people. We didn't really know anything about their personal lives, because there wasn't social media. There was this like real gap between the average person, right, and a celebrity. They felt like these like ethereal beings that like was so untouchable. Their personal lives were such a mystery. We didn't know what kind of food they ate, where they went out to eat, what kind of workouts they did, what their friends were. Like we didn't know what their personalities were like at all. They were like a mystery. And that's why people were so interested in them, I feel like. But nowadays, I feel like celebrity is everywhere, right? Like influencers, podcasters, models, Instagram models, like people off reality TV, like almost like every other account on Instagram is verified and has a decent amount of followers and like is going on brand trips. Do you know what I mean? Like celebrity is not really what it once was, other than like obviously there is like Beyonce and there's like Rihanna. And these people, like, we don't really know shit about them. They're kind of still on that pedestal. Most celebrities and like influencers these days are kind of like they don't really feel that like untouchable. Do you know what I mean? They feel I think it's also because they post what they're doing all the time. There's kind of no illusion to their celebrity, you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to know what like an influencer that I like is doing, I could probably go on their Instagram or like Snapchat. I think a lot of them post on Snapchat stories and seen what they've had for breakfast and what they did with their friends this morning and like what their hair is like this morning and their full morning routine and their makeup routine. I could like really peer into their personal life through social media. Do you know what I mean? So they don't feel so mysterious and like, oh my God, like that could never be me. But like often I feel like now they kind of lack the star power and the mystery that draws us to be interested in celebrities and pop culture. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, like I think now due to social media, everyone's very public about like their everyday lives. It's not just like this is the film I'm doing. There's a few celebrities that are like they don't really have a social media presence, and I can definitely see why they don't. But, I think I'd probably do the same. But a lot of celebrities, there's like a real spectrum now to celebrity. Like I feel like it used to be there's the everyday person and then there's celebrities and there's no in between. Whereas now there is a million people in between that that like they're kind of famous but they're kind of not, but they kind of have like a decent amount of followers, and there's some people who know who they are, but not everyone knows who they are. And like people are TikTok famous and people are like just famous through like random shit. Do you know what I mean? Like these days it's not really the same. And something that I've noticed about this, that now there are so many fucking people out there with very luxurious lives due to just being like do you know what I mean? Like TikTok famous or something. It's not like the very odd person is famous anymore. It's like it's easier than it was. Do you know what I mean? Like how many people make a full-time living off of their social media these days? It's like it's a very impressive thing, and it's by no means like easy. I do not think it's easy, but it's not your Marilyn Monroe. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a lot more attainable now, especially considering you only really need a phone and like a couple of apps. Like you could just get Instagram and TikTok and like do your thing, post what you want, and like you could really pick up. Do you know what I mean? Like, which is great in a lot of ways because a lot of people have something to offer. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people have really interesting ideas, and it's nice in a way that now, anyone could have control over that kind of thing and choose to do it, and there's nothing stopping you. You don't need a fuck ton of equipment. You don't need like a team behind you. You just need to like have a vision for yourself and like start posting shit. Do you know what I mean? And that's definitely great because then there's such an assortment of like people out there. Like there's so much content and that can be really interesting. But it does mean that it kind of starts to feel like everyone and their mother has like a million followers on Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Like that used to probably be, this is not me trying to shit on anyone that's like social media famous at all. Like it is not fucking easy to do that, and that is very impressive. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're watching this, I'm not shitting on that because it does take a certain amount of skill and like you have to have some sort of quality that's fucking interesting. Do you know what I mean? And like be good at it. It's not like anyone can do that. Do you know what I mean? I just mean everyone has the like ability to give it a shot these days. Hence why there is content and influencers and everything everywhere, because like everyone's just like, fuck it, why not? Like, you're not losing anything if you give it a go. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, what the fuck was my point? My point is actually really far away from what I'm at right now. I don't know how I'm gonna get to it. I might just skip to it. My point is, what I was thinking about recently is how celebrity being so vastly different these days, there used to be this big gap, right, between the everyday person and a celebrity that, you know, the public are watching or that they're interested in, that are in movies or whatever. You feel like your life is so wildly different from theirs that you don't really massively compare it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like they're just like on another world. Whereas now, because it feels like so many fucking people have, you know, are going on like brand trips, or like I said, they're getting like a full income from their TikTok or their Instagram or their YouTube or whatever the fuck. It's just the world we live in now. Like that's a career. And it has been for like, you know, a few years now. It's not like brand new, but it's still pretty wild to think about that that's not a career that existed that long ago. And now, you know, we're all on social media, we're all on our phones. Of course, it's a fucking career, because things like marketing and doing ads and things like that's where people's eyes are. Do you know what I mean? Now, people's eyes aren't necessarily on TV anymore. People are on their fucking phones. So, of course, it's a job, because that's where companies are going to get the best outcome out of, like, if you're going to pay someone to have a fucking advertisement of your company or of your product or something, of course you would put it on TikTok, because that's where everyone is. You're not going to put it on like some random shit on TV, because who's watching that? Like, not many people watch TV anymore. Of course, like the landscape for careers, it's like come up with a fuck ton of new careers that weren't possible, because we're all doing things that didn't exist before. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I've diverted to a completely different point again. My point is, now celebrity and being an influencer feels very I don't want to say common, but like it feels a lot more attainable than it ever was in the past. You know, like I said, like if you look at people that you follow on Instagram or whatever, everyone is doing really luxurious shit and staying in these really nice hotels, and they're all like, the caption is like #ad, and you're like, what the fuck? Or like they've gone on this trip and it's like a brand trip and it's linked to like some canned drink or something. Do you know what I mean? And they just got sent on it and it's like, what the fuck? Or like they have a really nice flat and like they've decorated it really well, and you're like, how the fuck did anyone afford that? And you look at it and it's like they don't even have that much of a following. Like, don't get me wrong, they have a following clearly, because they're fucking funding their life with it and they're getting these opportunities, so clearly they're doing something right. I'm not, again, shitting on these people, but it's not like there's like 1 in 1,000 people now having these opportunities and living these like lavish lives. It's like, it's probably like what, like 1 in 100 people. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's wild. And I think because it feels so much more attainable and it feels like someone that lives a life that's actually pretty fucking similar to yours, you know, you feel like this person is so much more relatable to you because you see what they do in their everyday life. You're like, you're not that different to me. You're my age. I think it can make the average person that, you know, is doing maybe an average job kind of feel like shit about their lives. And I think it can kind of cause you to actually compare, because like I said, in the past, if you think of like, you know, everyone's obsessed with like Audrey Hepburn or something. No one's thinking like, oh my God. I mean, maybe the odd person's like, oh my God, like imagine what kind of house she has, blah, blah, blah. Like that's wild. But you don't even think like, I could have that, because it's like, of course not. I'm not Audrey Hepburn. Like 1 in 1 million people have that. But now you see everyone living these lavish lives and you're like, what the fuck are they doing that I'm not? Do you know what I mean? I feel like it makes a lot of people start to compare a bit and feel like their everyday life isn't as impressive, or like, I don't know, there's a lot on social media of people flaunting very lavish things. Do you know what I mean? And I get, because like with, like I said, something that's like an ad, you have to, that's the job. You're getting paid to promote shit, whether it is it's getting sent on a trip or getting sent to a nice hotel or whatever the fuck you're doing, you have to flaunt it. That's what the ad is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily someone just off their own back being like, look at me on holiday. It's like, this is my job, like I'm working. But the nature of it is to influence, their influencers and to promote things and to make you want it. Do you know what I mean? And I think as much as, like I said, that's just a line of work now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I respect it. I think it's cool. I don't think there's anything negative about what they're doing. Like, it's actually really fucking cool. But I think because it's like everywhere, it just can start to make you think your everyday kind of life, the average person's living, it feels like your life is shit. And like most people have really cool lives because it feels like it's everywhere because there's so many people that are fucking influencers. Do you know what I mean? And then it starts to make you feel like your life when maybe you live, with your family, or you live in a small house, or you have a job that like just pays the bills and you don't really give a fuck, but like you have really great things to your life. Maybe you're in a great relationship, or like, you've decorated your home in a way that you love. It's just not a fucking mansion, but it doesn't need to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, your life could be full of all these fulfilling things, but if it doesn't look as lavish and impressive, it can make you feel like your life is like boring and just shit. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of content recently that's like de-influencing, which is people posting like their morning routines or their like vlogs of their lives, but they're doing it really fucking realistically rather than it being in this like perfectly clean white marble kitchen, and they like open a drawer and there's like 100 different shapes of ice cubes, and they've got like, do you know what I mean? Like the kind of content that you see that you're like, who the fuck lives their life like that? No one. By the way, I don't think anyone actually does. I don't think I'm yet to find someone who lives like that. But also none of my like friends are like billionaires, so fuck knows. But my point is, you don't even need to be a fucking like billionaire anymore. Now it's like someone that's actually not someone that's actually making a decent income or something is living a life and showing it on social media as if they are a fucking billionaire. So like you don't really know what's what. It's like smoke and mirrors everywhere. Do you know what I mean? So it just makes, when you're seeing that all the time on social media, you don't even have to be like a super insecure person who like is really prone to comparing and, oh, they have this and I don't, blah, blah, blah. If you're just seeing that all the fucking time, it's just going to make you feel a bit shit. It's just going to make you not really appreciate and feel as grateful and happy with the shit that you have, because it's not, like I said, a perfectly clean white marble kitchen and like shower with like all these products that are like perfectly matching in different colors and they all say like your name on or something. And this is the thing, is like these things are actually cool, and like I quite like, I can appreciate a nice aesthetic, and I love when people like organize their kitchen or their bathroom or something like really nicely. I'm like, oh, that's like, it hits the spot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like watching that content because it's like satisfying. So I get it from that perspective of like, it's not always people trying to like show off. Sometimes it's just like, I'm proud of my fucking house. Do you know what I mean? But it still can have the same effect where you're like, is this what someone's house looks like every single day? Because what the fuck? So like I said, I've been seeing like de-influencing content where people film like, this is me making my instant coffee in my normal fucking messy kitchen, like weaving in and around my family or my boyfriend or my kids or something, rushing off to work, and like sometimes I actually have to do my hair in the car, or sometimes like, do you know what I mean? Like just normal shit where like not everyone wakes up at like 5 a.m. and has this like perfect morning routine. And the thing is, you don't need like money really to do some of this shit. Um, I really don't think you do. Like to have a really solid morning routine or workout regime or whatever like you want to do, you don't need really expensive equipment and shit to do it. Like you just need to, a lot of it's like waking up at a certain time. You could go on a walk, you could listen to a podcast. Everyone seems to have a phone and like headphones, so like you could do that, and then you could make some sort of coffee. It doesn't have to be from like a fancy espresso machine. Do you know what I mean? Like you can do the same shit, but it's just when people show you it in the most like expensive, lavish way ever, it makes you feel like you're just like trying to be something that you can't be. Does that make any sense? It's like the grass is greener kind of mindset where I think it can make a lot of us feel like, if we had the money or had this lifestyle or had this kitchen and this nicer house and we had this kind of thing, I think it can make us want more and more and more and more, because that is the world we live in, where it's very maximalist and consumerism and everything. It's like everything is more and more and more. And all of it together just makes it can make you feel like you don't have enough in your life when you could have the most fulfilling, like warm, loving life ever. And I also think at the end of the day, humans, like, we we have the same needs in terms of like, if you have a roof over your head and you have like someone that, some people that you love, maybe it's friends or maybe it's family, maybe it's a partner, or whatever you want, maybe it's a pet. And you have some interests and some hobbies, and like, you have there's just like basic needs that I think if they're met, whether they're met with things that cost like £1 million or they're met with things that you've had for like since your childhood just in the same house that still work, you're still meeting that same need, and it kind of makes no difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, a good life is a good life. And I don't know, I don't think life really can get that much better than if you have a nice home or a healthy, loving relationship or some really good friends. These things, like, you can have all the money in the world, but like, it's pretty widely known that even people that are rich and famous and successful in that way, they can be so fucking lonely. Like, it's fact. We know that that's not what brings people happiness, because like almost every famous person ever says, like, this doesn't make me any happier. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like a cliche at this point that people that have fame, they still say that their like favorite thing in life is to go home and be with their pets or be with their family at Christmas or get to go home and see their boyfriend and, be in private and actually live their real fucking life. It's not like, oh yeah, my favorite thing that I get to do is walk a red carpet. I feel like that's not a fulfilling experience. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's cool as fuck and it's impressive as fuck. And I'm sure it's very memorable and something that people are very proud of and excited about. But it's not, I think also the novelty probably wears off fairly quickly of fame. Not fairly quickly. I'm sure it's pretty wild forever if you really think about it, but you get used to whatever life you have. You get used to the things you have and the money that you have. So even if you gained a fuck ton more money or traveled every single month, a few months in, it's just routine. So it's kind of like I said, there's a basic amount of needs that when they're being met, you're going to just feel good, and it doesn't matter if it's extravagant or not, because you just get used to what you have. Does that make any sense? I kind of think having good people around you, having a nice home, a cozy place to cook dinners and be with people that you love, to be loved, to be cared for, to be supported by people, like, I think genuinely that's as good as it gets. And I think, like I said, I think the grass is greener mindset is just so there. In today's like culture, and like for a lot of us with social media, it just like breeds the grass is greener, and like we have this like inability to be content with what we have, because, and I don't really blame us for feeling that way, because we see everyone with everything everywhere, and like I said, everything is smoke and mirrors, and it's quite hard to actually ground yourself in the fact that like you don't need all that shit. And even if you got it, it would be exciting, don't get me wrong, but it still comes back to those basic needs. Like, do you feel good in yourself? Are you comfortable? Do you have a home? Do you have people that you love? Like, that's what you need, whether you have the excess fancy fluffy stuff or not. You need the basic shit. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like we relentlessly are looking for like more and more, and like seeking better, and even this might be a whole different fucking conversation, but I was gonna say, even in like relationships, I think a lot of us have the like grass is greener mindset, where you can have a perfectly good partner that actually really cares about you and loves you and supports you, and you're really compatible and it works. But I think a lot of people will still be like, oh, but like they don't do this, they don't do this. And like, obviously sometimes it's valid, depends on the thing. But again, because people also put their relationships on social media, and them traveling and them doing cute dates and cute dinners, and they don't post the fucking arguments, do they? Of course. Because I was gonna say, no one wants to read that. I would fucking read that. I'm nosy as fuck. I would love if people posted what they've like fallen out with their boyfriend about. But that's probably not like a great quality that would interest me, but it just would. It just would. Actually, I think that's probably quite common. I feel like we're all quite nosy because social media is literally like voyeurism, is it not? Like we're all just like peering into each other's windows through our phones. Like that's fucking weird. But like if you have a social media and you post on it, you're also taking part in this like weird voyeurism thing. Do you know what I mean? Like anyway, like this conversation is like 101, but it's just like there's so many different like alleyways I could go down. But yeah, like I said, I think people just with people post everything and they make everything look perfect. So relationships aren't an exception, that they make it look like they're fucking perfect too. Whether it's an influencer or a celebrity or like your friends, like not your close friends because you'd probably know the state of that relationship, but like people that you follow like locally to you, they also probably look like they have like a really great relationship all the time. And like you don't fucking know that either. And it can make, I know I've had that experience where I've been in a relationship before and it's given me that grass is greener mindset where I'm always like picking the like things that aren't right and thinking like, oh, but like, you know, you see relationships everywhere and different people and you're like, oh, but like I want that and I want that and I want this. And I'm not talking about like seeing other people and being like, I want them. I want to date them instead. But like, you know, you just see things everywhere and you start to compare and you start to feel like there's more that you could get and you become, like I said, relentlessly wanting to just like upgrade and get better and better. And that's like, I think the grass is greener mindset it can really ruin your life because you can have something really great. Whether it is a relationship or a friendship or just where you live or what job you have, you can have something that actually works really well for you and leave it behind or ruin it or do you know what I mean? Because you have this mindset that like it's not good enough. And it's like this is what I mean by like I actually don't think it gets any better than if you've got like a partner or a friendship that's really good and like you really enjoy it and you find it really fun and like it works for you right now, then I think you'd be like a fool to just do you know what I mean? Leave that because you think I could do better. Like and the thing is like you could probably always find someone, I'm talking about relationships now, that's like a 1% better match. You could always probably do that if you tried. Do you know what I mean? There's someone on the planet that's 1% better match for you than your partner. Probably there has to be. Do you know what I mean? And I think people like really take that to literally where it's like that's probably a fact because it's the same. You've probably got like there's friends out there that are going to be better friends than your friends, but like there's so many fucking people out there, of course. But like that, I think the grass is greener where you water it. Is that the phrase? And like be grateful for what you have, and if you have something that works for you, like this is what I mean. Like that's you're winning at life because not everyone even fucking has that. Not everyone even has a relationship that they like, or friends that they love, or like a home that feels safe and like I'm not trying to like be fucking grateful. Like if your relationship's shit, like don't feel like I'm saying like be grateful. You can leave it. I don't know the context. But my point is it can make you not see what's right in front of you that's really good and that you're actually that is luxurious. Do you know what I mean? Like that's an amazing thing to have in your life. But we've all got this mindset of like we want more and more and there's better here and better that and blah 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 and like it can just make us so discontent, not content with whatever the fuck we have, whether it is money or jobs or relationships or friendships. It's just like everything is like more, more, more. And I don't know, I just think humans are simple creatures. like we're complex for sure, but we're also simple creatures. Like there's basic needs and like what you have might not be perfect, but what everyone else has is also not fucking perfect. Like I don't know what's going on in anyone else's lives, but I could tell you that it's not perfect without knowing them. But it's like so easy to forget that because it's everything is like such an illusion. This is what I mean. I don't know. I just think if you've got someone to go home to sleep next to, that would make you a coffee in the morning, you know, someone to come home to, someone who's excited by you and loves hearing about your day, it's like, that's a great thing. Do you know what I mean? And again, I don't fucking know the context. Like, I don't know. That is pretty like bare minimum shit in a relationship, but it's still fucking lovely. And like, I think it's easy to just always be thinking about what's wrong or what could be better, or, you know, there's probably a partner that wouldn't do that, or there's probably someone that wouldn't do that, or there's probably like, do you know what I mean? It's easy to nitpick because I don't know, I just think our brains are wired a little bit like that these days because of social media. Maybe that's a stretch. I don't know. I just think it rubs off on us a bit and we just are more prone to comparing and being a bit critical and shit. I don't know. But I just think like being grounded in what you actually have and being grateful for that is hard sometimes in the world we live in. However, I think it's the only way to actually be happy, because you could be in an endless cycle of wanting more, then you get more, and then you want more, and then you could just do that until you die. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to be satisfied. And I think a person who is never content with what they have is a person who's never going to be satisfied. What a quote. What a quote. Do you know what I mean? Because even if you were like famous and rich and you've still always got something that you want and you'll be happy when you get that and you want and you're still never going to be happy. It's the same rule applies. It's just a lot of it is perspective and your mindset and how grateful and present you are in what you actually fucking have and appreciating it. Whether it's a like really luxurious thing or it's like something really basic, it's still something to be excited about and to appreciate. Do you know what I mean? You know, I think you can have like the best of times in your own little home, sat on your little sofa with your favorite people, having a little snack, ordering a takeaway or cooking dinner, having a glass of wine, putting on some music, watching your comfort shows, like lying in your bed or like sitting outside in the garden with your boyfriend, or like walking around the local area that you live, going to the pub that you live next to, going and getting like a roast on a Sunday. Like, this is the shit that I feel like actually just like that is life, and that is so, I don't know, I fucking love that shit. I think that's what makes your soul happy. I don't think money has anything to do with it. Of course it can give you opportunities and money is very important in this world, like don't get me wrong, I'm not like that out of touch, but you see my point. I think you can have like the absolute nicest fucking day ever at home doing basic shit with people that you care about, or by yourself, like in your own company, just having a nice day by yourself and like going on a solo date, going out for dinner. You know, you could have equal amount of joy doing that than in France on a really expensive little island going out for a really fancy dinner. Your joy level could still be the exact fucking same. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't guarantee you any more joy. It's just a change of scene. And like, it's nice to have an array of memories and experiences of like traveling and going places and doing cool things, and then having memories at home with like people that feel like home. That's also like, you'd want both. You know, you wouldn't just want a life full of extravagant shit, because then you'd be missing out on like reality and what actually matters too. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like I'm losing my point. But yeah, I could honestly go on and on and on because like this conversation feels like it could never end. So maybe I'll try and like work out how I could do a part two where I would go with that in a conversation. But hopefully this conversation tracked, made some sense, and was some food for thought. Let me know your thoughts as always. Just some thoughts I've been having. Um, Always want to hear other people's opinions and thoughts, whether it's the same or not. Don't fucking care. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I really hope this episode made sense, and I will talk to you next week.